Hi, welcome to the Dynavision Cross-Selling video. In this video, I want to present you the cross-selling app of Dynavision. What is the cross-selling app? The goal of the cross-selling app is to enable up and cross-selling on the sales document in Business Central and to enhance that in an efficient way that the order entry can be done very smoothly. The setup and the maintenance of the cross-selling app should be very easy, so I will go into detail about the setup and the use of the app. To start the video, I will show how on a sales order you can use the cross-selling. I will create a new sales order, select my customer. On the sales line, I will sell a box of snacks. I can enter the quantity. And over the menu, I can select the function cross-sell items. This will open a list of available cross-sell items linked to the snack mix. Some of them don't have a quantity suggested, so I just can enter a quantity. And notice at this moment on the lower part, the cross-sell item has been added with the quantity 2. There are also some lines where quantity is suggested. There I just can say by checking the checkbox, okay, I want to add this to the sales order. So the lines are added at the lower part. Now I can close the page and you can see on the sales order that the 2 selected cross-sell items are added to the sales order. Notice also on the sales order, there is a link between the initial item and the cross-sell items. This is also a way where I can go to the cross-sell items just by clicking on the link. So I see here the same information as I got over the menu. Afterwards, I can even change the quantity and it will update the lines. So you can go back and forward again to the cross-sell items to make corrections to your order. And once the order has been finished, you can release it for processing in the warehouse. So we just saw how you can add cross-sell items on a sales order and how you can modify them afterwards. Now I will show you how this setup was done. I go back to my item list and I will select the snack mix. That was the initial item I entered on the sales order. On the menu, we see a cross-sell lines item. If I click on this, we will open the list of linked cross-sell items. This is the list we saw previously on the sales order. And here you see how it was linked to the item. And we can select items. We can predefine a quantity if required or if wanted. And we can also select the unit of measure code. So this list will be displayed on the sales order if you click the cross-sell item list. Of course, if you have a lot of items and a lot of cross-sell items, it will demand a lot of effort to maintain these lists. So in the next video, I will show you how you can optimize it with some advanced cross-sell codes. So we just saw how we can set up very easily cross-sell items linked to an item. As I explained already, it will demand quite some effort if you have a lot of items and a lot of cross-sell items to maintain this. So we have a more advanced, a more flexible way to help you to set up cross-sell. On my screen, you will see I have created a case with smartphones. So there is quite a list of different smartphones. There is a list of cases for those smartphones, and there are also chargers and screen protectors for those iPhones, and I want to use all those items in an efficient way to have cross-selling on my sales order. What is important to notice, on the items, we also have enabled item attributes, and we will use those item attributes to set up a performant cross-sell code. And the item attributes will be used to filter the correct cross-sell items. So how is this done? We create cross-sell codes. I just prepared it by creating a cross-sell code phones, and I can open a page with the setup of that cross-sell code. So we see some general information where I can give a code and a description. And in the second part, we can define the structure of how the cross-sell items will be presented to me. So I can make different, I would call it chapters, divisions in the cross-sell list with using some item categories. So we use the item categories to make a division in the cross-sell items. Per cross-sell item category code, we can then define the filters which items should be included in that section. So first I have a category services. I will include in the services an item where the item type has the value service. So everybody knows on the item card we can have inventory items, service items, and non-inventory items. I will display here all the service items. In the second part, I will have the cases. How will the cases be filtered from the item list? I will use item attributes. So I will first use the item attribute of the model. So that will be the iPhone 13, 14, 15, or the Pixel 8 or 9. And we can see that I'm using the item attribute model, and I will inherit the value. So that means I will first of all put the initial phone on the sales order, and to select the case, I will inherit the model from the phone. But I will also apply a second filter where I use the item attribute type, that I just see the cases. So I will not see the screen protectors or the chargers for that phone, but just the cases that are valid for that phone. Then I have a section for the screen protectors where I have a very similar setup where I now use the screen protectors item attribute value instead of the cases. Then the same thing for the chargers. And at the end, I've created an item category others where I will not use item attributes to include items, but here I can show you that on top of using filters, we can also just add lines. So in the others, I will add a line with a resource, not an item, a resource. I created a resource installation where we can add that to the sales order if we will perform the installation and the data migration on the new phone. And on the second line, I inserted an item where I can also offer the snack mix if the customer wants to have a snack while he's waiting for the installation. So that's the setup of my cross-sell code. If I go back now to my item list, we can see that on the lines of the different phones, I added the cross-sell code to the item. So that will tell the system now, if I put one of the phones on the sales order or on the sales quote, it will recognize the sales cross-sell code phones. And this cross-sell code with the setup I just showed will be used to give a list of available options. Let's try this. We create the sales order again, select the customer, and I will sell an iPhone 15. By selecting the iPhone 15 on the sales order, I see the cross-sell code phones is linked to that item. And by clicking on the cross-sell code, I see a list build up dynamically with the different sections I just defined in the cross-sell code. First of all, I have the services. These are two items in the item list with the type service, so a cashback and a warranty extension. The cases will show me all the cases for the iPhone 15 with different colors. Screen protectors will show two screen protectors specifically for the iPhone 15. Same thing for the chargers. And then on the other section, I have my installation and data migration I can offer and the snack mix. So at this point, I can select the options I want for the phone and just confirm to have the lines added on my sales order. The big advantage is if I will sell now, for example, a Pixel 8, different brand, different type, I see that the same cross-sell code has been applied phones. And by clicking on this, I will see that the list has been built up dynamically again. And now this time I see that I have the specific options for the Pixel 8. The cases, the screen protectors, the chargers are now really for the Pixel 8. The services and the other section have the same content because those are not related to the item attribute, brand or model. So this shows you in a nutshell the power of the cross-sell codes, where you can use the attributes with the values to build up dynamically the cross-sell list of items. For the next feature, I will go to the sales order again. I will create a new sales order. Select the customer. We will sell an iPhone 15 again. Select the iPhone 15. If I click on the cross-sell code, I will get the list. And you might wonder what is now the sequence of the items in the different sections. For example, for the cases. Why is the silver case in the first position and not in the lower position? Because you see here, the item number is not going up or down. It's not sorted by the item number. It's not sorted by the description. So what are we doing? I will open the page inspector to show you a hidden field. It's a hidden field quantity sold. So in background, we will also calculate the amount of each case that has been sold, and we will fill it in this field. And we will put the item with the highest ranking, so with the highest selling quantity in the first position. There is even some options for that. So that's the only thing that you can do in the setup of the cross-sell setup. We will sort the results by quantity sold. You can set up the time range that you want to be applied on that calculation. And you can also set two options to include a location filter and to include a sell to customer filter. That means if you include those filters, it will also limit the calculation to the location of the sales order and also only for the quantity sold to that specific customer. So you can set it up that you see really the customer specific history, in fact, or if it is a global history for all customers and for all locations. For the next feature, I will go back to the cross-sell code of the phones. On the filter lines, I will go to the chapter of the chargers. We see that we're using a filter on item attribute for the brand and item attribute for the type. So if I test this for an iPhone, we will see that we will have chargers specifically for the iPhone. And if we do the same thing for a Pixel, we will see that we have the specific chargers of a Google. This is done because we are using the filter type charger on the item attribute and we are using the brand. And on that line, I want to show the next option. We have an option when to apply the item attribute filter. By default, it's on always because that's mostly the result that you want. But I can also select the second option when attribute value exists. So I change this for the brand. This means I will only apply a filter if the brand attribute is available on that charger. If I go now back and test again for the same iPhone, I will see that I have now two additional generic wireless and fast charger available in the cross-sell list. This is because it's a generic charger. We applied the item attribute type charger, but there is no brand allocated to that. So in this way, I can also offer with the iPhone the specific Apple chargers, but I can also use a generic charger. And if I do the same test with my Pixel, we will see that besides the specific Google chargers, we have the same two generic chargers available. So this offers you some flexibility to also broaden the list of available cross-sell items. In the screen, there's one more option that we can use to interfere with the visualization of your list. On the list of the item categories, we can do a move up to put the different categories in a different sequence. If I now go back and do the test on the Apple iPhone, we will see that the sections are the same, but that the sequence of the sections is different. So you have also control over the sequence of those sections. That's it about the cross-sell app with most of the important features that you can use to set it up. One more thing. To manage the cross-selling, we will also need to manage the items, and more specifically, we will need to manage all the attributes for the different items. You can go to an item card, and over the menu, over the fact box, you can go to the item attributes, and for each item, you can go through it and set the correct item attributes. But if you have a lot of items and you have a lot of attributes that you want to use, because that's the way to set up performant cross-sell codes, it will be a cumbersome work. So therefore, I can present a feature from our Dynavision Trade app, which will help you with this. On the Dynavision Trade app, I can, for example, select all my juices, and over the attributes menu, I have an option, attributes multiple, where I have an easy way to assign and edit attributes, item attributes, and item attribute values on the selection. For example, I can add now an additional model, and the model will be drinks in this case, and I will apply that on all the selected items. If I open now an item, we will see that there is also an item attribute model drinks. So nice feature to help you to manage a large amount of items with a large amount of item attributes and item attribute values.
Dynavision,